In this video, I want to give you the single most overpowered method to gaining mental clarity about who you are and what you want to do with your life. You might relate to this, but I used to not have any mental clarity, and I would seemingly be working really hard, but I didn't know where I was going, and so I kept burning out over and over and over again. I desperately wanted to have a steady stream of motivation and purpose, and that didn't come until I used this method to gain hyper clarity. If you want exponential progress on your goals, an easier time quitting bad habits, to understand what truly drives you and feel purposeful day to day, it all comes down to gaining clarity using this one method. Unfortunately, if you don't gain clarity, you will probably stay stuck where you are. You will repeat the same cycle of being really productive for a few days, then hitting a rut for what seems to be weeks at a time. But again, there is a way out of this. Just bear with me for a minute. I'm going to give you this method and show you how to do it effectively so you don't get stuck in the process. The strategy that I keep mentioning is a form of the Socratic Method. It's going to sound kind of dumb and ineffective at first, but trust, let me show you why this might be the thing that's been missing. The Socratic Method, in a sense, comes down to asking yourself why. Let's say you have this goal. You want a really nice car. As obvious as this sounds, the Socratic Method would say that you need to ask yourself why you want a nice car before you ask yourself how to get the nice car. A large amount of time, especially if you're a guy, your desires aren't your own. This is actually kind of crazy because you're not as in control of what you desire as you think you are. A lot of the time, you want something because you see a guy that you like or respect want that thing, or because you see everyone online wanting that thing. In reality, you might not actually want a nice car, but everybody's posting pictures about a nice car, and the guy that you really respect is talking about getting a nice car. And so you kind of forget about what you actually want and steal their desires. But if you genuinely took the time to ask yourself what you actually want in life, right now, you might say something like peace of mind, or to quit a bad habit, or to have a better relationship with your family, or to be more intelligent. The way to know if your desires are actually your own and if you are in control of your will is to use this method. Ask yourself, why do you want the nice car? Because I like whipping down the highway at wild speeds in a nice looking car. Okay, but why do you want to do that? Because it makes me feel excited and happy. Okay, but why does it make you feel that way? Because it's dangerous. And in all honesty, I want other people to see me in my nice car. Okay, but why do you want that? Keep going and asking yourself why you have that motivation. Go as deep as you possibly can until you can't go any further. This is where true mental clarity lies. You might discover that you didn't really actually have a reason for what you desire. You were about to waste so much time going through all of the effort to get something that's sort of trivial, that you don't actually want. The real reason you wanted a $50,000 car is because you wanted people to look at you when you pulled up in it. Imagine going through that entire process of earning the money, saving the money, going to the dealership, buying the car, then you have it, and you go to the party and everyone's gawking at you, how cool your car is. Then a few hours later, you leave the party and you go home. That's it. You had your moment. Was it worth the effort? Of course, every time people see you in your car, they might say something about how cool your car is. But eventually, everyone, including you, is going to get used to it. You might have spent a year or two saving all of that money, earning all of that money, putting in all of that effort to get the car for one moment that faded away in a night. This is why you see rich and successful people talking about how life is meaningless and how money doesn't make you happy. By no means am I trying to sound like I am against material goals or that I think nice cars are bad. All I'm trying to say is that if you don't have a real substantive reason as to why you are chasing what you desire, it doesn't matter if you achieve it. With no reason to have chased it in the beginning, there will be no reason to celebrate it in the end. This is the method that hyper successful people and entrepreneurs use to have motivation and purpose on tap. They have found a real core reason as to why they are doing what they are doing, a reason that twinges the soul, as I like to say. As you see with many successful people too, your reason doesn't have to be positive. It can be to never feel a certain way you felt before again, or it can be to never experience poverty again, but also know when to stop. I was doing this exercise once, and at the bottom of all of my whys, my core reason was because I wanted to love myself. Now, I can ask the question, why do you want to love yourself? And philosophically, that might be a cool and legitimate question to ask. But when it comes to achieving goals and gaining mental clarity, that might be dipping too far into semantics. You don't necessarily need to get meta about it, to get existential about it. In the process of gaining mental clarity, you don't want to lose it. But the Socratic Method itself is not just for achieving goals. You can use this method, and I would highly recommend you do so, to examine yourself, who you are, and what makes you tick. If you're struggling with a bad habit, for example, continually ask yourself why. Why do you find value in that thing? Why did you want to do it in the first place? Why do you want to quit in the first place? Why do you snap back to this vice? And why do you believe that it fulfills you? With some minor bad habits and addictions, sometimes they can literally just be solved by growing in that self-awareness and understanding the real motivation behind it. I used this example in my last video, but it's quite literally like you're going to court with your mind. If you can bring a convincing argument to the table over and over again, eventually you'll convince your subconscious mind with this reasoning. Then, after some genuine work, of course, your subconscious will start to remove resistance. This is why philosophy is actually important. I had a teacher once who introduced me to deeper philosophy and theology. I had just started getting into it, and I had just finished a book that he recommended me. I thought it was all good and stuff, but I asked him once I had finished the book, what's the point of spending my whole life in my room reading? Which I think is a pretty common critique of people who don't read philosophy. He gave me an answer that actually reshaped how I view philosophy, though. He said the point of learning philosophy is to live the best possible life that you can, or something like that. He explained sort of what I just said, but in different words, that if you can shape your mind, it can have a practical impact on your life. The book that I had just finished reading is called The Consolation of Philosophy by Boethius. Incredible book, by the way. About 4 to 5 months after that conversation, I got into a car accident after falling asleep at the wheel where I easily could have died. I had completely totaled my car. And as a cherry on top, my computer had just broke in the middle of doing freelance work. It was a tricky situation that would have tested the average person's peace of mind. But no joke, I think because I read that book and digested it and took the lessons to heart, I had almost no trouble at all with it. I even had people comment on how unaffected I was by something that could have been so traumatic for someone. I don't say that to up myself. I say that to point out the fact that by simply reasoning with yourself, doing it all up here, especially doing so by using the Socratic Method, you can actually change how you act and practically affect the world. But overall, I did make a video on the car crash and some philosophy that shaped how I dealt with it. And besides that, I hope this video brought you a nugget of value. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.